Do, 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 do. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into NASCAR by the numbers. We always have that little pause at the beginning. I just thought about this. If you ever realize we have a pause at the beginning, the reason is we're waiting to see our other actual YouTube pages, a third party, actually start going. So that's why. So, anyways, that awkward intro is out of the way. What is going on? We already got Matt in the building. Predictions is what's about to happen tonight. This is something that me and you typically look forward to. Did we do a predictions episode last year?
I don't know. Last year, I think we only did the Daytona 500.
Right. I don't think we did one, but I've been doing predictions for 5 or 6 years now. Something I've always really enjoyed doing.
You guys are veteran when it comes to this.
Sometimes I'm right. A lot of times I'm wrong, but the whole point is to have fun. So we're here tonight, obviously. Before we get to the predictions, obviously, though, we have a couple of things to talk about. One, your boy Armany, a.k.a. today the lead dog at Hendrick, he was at the Rolex 24 this past weekend. And so pretty much I'm going to do like a mini interview with this guy because I've always been curious. I've only gone to NASCAR races. I only know the dynamic of a NASCAR race. You show up to the track a few hours early. You sit around, you walk around, you do this, you do that, you take pictures, you drink a little bit, you get you something to eat, you go to the grandstands, you wait another hour, you got pre-race, and there you go. Then the race is over in 4 or 5 hours, and you go home. This race obviously is 24 hours through the night, through the next day. So first question of the 24 hours, how much did you actually see, and did you have fun?
I saw about 13 to 14 out of the 24.
Now, do you just sit in the grandstands? Are you walking around? Can you go to the infield? How does that work?
You can go in the infield. I didn't go in it yet, man. I didn't really go to it. But, yeah, you can pretty much walk around the grandstands. Like, literally, it's like you went in, you could sit whatever the hell you want. So I sat all the way by where you was at the road course. I sat in the middle where the checkered flag is. I sat all the way at the other end. Try to see different angles. Again, the only one they really see is the road course, and not the road course, the infield. But in terms of like the experience, like compared to a NASCAR event, it's pretty much the exact same thing. At least this one's the exact same thing, minus just like way longer.
So if you were to go in the infield, or like the drivers that aren't racing, are they out and around? Like, could you go talk to them or get an autograph or a picture, or are they still in the NASCAR race where they're pretty much locked away?
No, there's pretty much because it's COVID, so like you can't really go on the pit road or like the garage. It's pretty much like the infield. What I mean by that is like the road course section.
I got you. So
next question. Like the drivers, like they weren't. Yeah, they were.
So curious on this too. How loud are those cars? Do they compete at all with noise level of a stock car?
No. Stock cars are way louder. Or my hearing's just going bad.
And then my biggest question. So I'm assuming did you get like a hotel?
Yep.
So biggest question: if you wanted to, could you sit in the grandstands for a literal like 24 hours straight? Like you could go sleep in the grandstands, wake up, still be in the grandstands watching the race.
I mean, when I left the track, it was like 12 or 1 in the morning, so I don't see why not.
Okay, I got you. Well, what the hell? Save on the hotel money. Get you a nap in right there at the track. Get you a blanket and pillow right there in the grandstands.
49 cars just going, 100 plus miles an hour.
So you can tell me more about this. So I heard Chase Elliott had a very rough first stint. I think it was the slowest stint of any driver. Then I heard he came in later at night and did pretty good. Your boy Jimmy, he was kind of up and down. How cool was it to see Jimmy out there racing? Perhaps maybe this is your last time you get to see him race, but how cool was it to see Jimmy out there?
It was pretty depressing, I'm not going to lie, just because you saw all, like, especially at the beginning, when he had all the DPI cars, all ahead. I put this on Twitter. All the DPI cars were battling for the lead, and then you had Jimmy, who was just by himself because, he was still getting adjusted to, learning this thing.
It's going to be a big transition, but I don't know if this road course thing is going to be a deal for Jimmy long term. Like, I know he's got a 2-year deal in IndyCar, but like, and don't get me wrong, Jimmy, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he just has to get more seat time. But it is hard to transition into what he is doing. He wasn't ever really known as a road course guy in NASCAR. He had a couple of wins, a couple of moments. But I think he had 2 road course wins, and I think they came in the same year. I think he swept back in one of his championship seasons.
Nope.
Or either he went back to back. But
he only got 1 road course win, Sonoma, back in 2010.
And so that's not something that he's not very great at. And I don't know. It sounds like it's been a rough transition so far. COVID doesn't help. Not sure if Jimmy's going to necessarily I don't see Jimmy Johnson winning an IndyCar race, Hopefully he'll progress. It'll be fun. Hopefully I can tune in. I really would love to see him run the Brickyard. But got to be cool to see Jimmy out there. Obviously you get your little taste of racing to start the year. My first taste of racing will be with everybody else that's an NASCAR fan, and that's next week. I'm going to come on here and officially say it. I was wrong. I typically don't ever say I was wrong. Usually Speedweeks is 2 weeks long, and you're kind of like, man, I really like this 2 weeks. It's drug out. We got this and that. I think I'm really, really looking forward to next week. 6 days straight of NASCAR. You don't know the schedule by now for the movie at the time. Tuesday is the Clash, the Bud Shootout. Wednesday's Daytona 500 qualifying. Thursday's the qualifying races, the duels. Friday's the truck race. Saturday's the Xfinity race. And Sunday is obviously the Daytona 500. And obviously – me and Armani will have to discuss plans. I have a plan that we haven't discussed yet. What we may do next Thursday is a little experimental thing, so we'll have to get on that. But as of now, we plan on having a show next Thursday, even though the duels will be on. But we may do a cool concept with it. Me and him still have to discuss that. So hopefully when we know, we'll be able to announce it. But really excited for the 6 days in a row. Maybe we don't need 2 weeks. I mean, I think this 1 week, hell, give me something that can happen on Monday. I wish they would have put the ARCA race on Monday. ARCA, by the way, if you're wondering, is Saturday before the Xfinity Series race. So a lot of racing, 6 days in a row, really a great lead up to the Daytona 500. I can imagine if you're camping or going to be there all week. I mean, what a great build up. Clash on the road course. Again, the Bud Shootout on the road course. Then you go to qualifying, which I really enjoy because Daytona 500 qualifying is the most important qualifying session of the year. You get to see all the cars. You get to hear the storylines, the new schemes, the new sponsors, new combos. Then the duels are always exciting because you have the storylines. Then trucks are always wild. ARCA and Xfinity are always wild. And then obviously you have the granddaddy of them all, the Daytona 500. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then my little mini rant before we get into predictions. So if nobody had heard, today it was announced that the Truck Series with Thor Sport, they announced their driver lineup. So traditionally you have Matt Crafton again. He's back, obviously. Go Crafton. I've always liked Matt. You have Johnny Sauter coming back. Sauter is always competitive. He had a down year last year, so I would expect Sauter to make a decent run this year. He tends to kind of be a 1 year there, hit or miss kind of guy. Then Ben Rhodes is back full time. I'll kind of loop to that in a second. And then on the other ride, you have Christian Eckes and Grant Enfinger splitting the 4th Thor Sport truck. So remember, in Trucks and Xfinity, you can have as many teams as you want. They could have a 5th or 6th truck if they had the money, or the want, I guess. Second of all, how the hell is Grant Enfinger having to split a ride? I understand sponsorship is a big part of this sport, but Grant Enfinger may be their best shot at a championship. I mean, obviously Matt Crafton is there, Johnny Sauter's been there, but Grant Enfinger, I said this 2 or 3 years ago. If Grant Enfinger was 5 to 7 years younger, he would be one of the hottest prospects in the garage. I think he's won at least a race or two the last 2 or 3 years in trucks, consistently a championship competitor, fast guy, very, 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 very talented, was back in ARCA. I think he's an ARCA champion, but back when ARCA was still legitimate. Now he's in the Truck Series. He's always been competitive in the Truck Series and always showed up when it counted. I just hate to see it. And ironically, I didn't even think about it until I saw it on Twitter. Now Christian Eckes and Ben Rhodes, who were borderline going to kill each other about 4 months ago, now they're teammates. So that'll be interesting. And Ben Rhodes, man, I've asked for 2 years, who the hell is Ben Rhodes? And it's rhetorical. We know who Ben Rhodes is. I like Ben Rhodes. I really thought he could be successful. I got to see him win a K&N Series race back in the day, Grimble Pickens. But he's just kind of stuck in this career lull. He's not winning enough. He's not really a championship threat, but he still gets a couple of top fives, but then he still tears up a couple of trucks a year. And he's just, you don't know who he is. And he's kind of like, I guess he's kind of like the Eric Almirola, except he'll actually win a race during the season. than Eric of the Truck Series. I mean, he's kind of there, but he's not, and he sort of take him seriously, but not really. He'll probably make the postseason, but he's not going to make a title run. But I'm just frustrated for Grant Enfinger. Seems to be a great guy, really great race car driver, and I was a little pissed when I found out he was splitting the ride. Old Grant deserves better. I mean, how often have I got to tweet that the field just got Enfingered? You know what I mean? I mean, that's an iconic tweet, and I may not get to send that this year since it's only half the year. But rolling on with it, I know you, my friend, and me, we both enjoy this, and that is predictions. Looking into the crystal ball, I know you're going to have some crazy stuff. I can already tell. I have one or two things that people would probably consider crazy. You're probably going to go even further with that. So me and Armani have more than 5 predictions for the year, and me and him will probably, on our own time, we'll tweet out all of our predictions. We'll probably tweet these back out, and then the other ones we do not share tonight. But we both told each other to pick 5 of our list to say tonight. So Armani, I don't know if he has it as an arranged. Mine, I'm going to start from, of the 5 of the 10 total that I have, I picked. I'm going to go in the order from kind of the least bold to the most. So that's how I have mine lined up. I can't speak for Armani on that. But let's get rolling. Let's start it off. Armani, drum roll, please. I don't have a drum. We'll do this. I have a lot of noise right here. First prediction of the episode. Go on and roll with it. Your first of 5 predictions for the 2021 Cup Series season.
All right, I'm gonna do the same thing that you're doing. So, number 1, my least prediction: Kyle Busch is gonna have a bounce back year. Obviously, we know 2020 was a lull year for Kyle Busch in his title defense. He only had 1 win, but managed to get 14 top 5s to 20 top 10s. Had an average finish around 13.7, not 9.9, by the way, from last week.
Yeah.
So he's got the new crew chief, Ben Bashore. He's worked with him in the Xfinity Series. He's won with him in the Xfinity Series.
First of all, don't ever say Bashore. It's Bayshore. Ben Bashore.
You know what? His new name is Ben Based Shore. All right, so Ben Based Shore. He's won with him in the Xfinity Series. Granted, Kyle Busch has won with everyone in the Xfinity Series at this point. I think Kyle Busch, he's going to be more motivated than ever. We know what Kyle Busch is like. He hates losing. He always wants to run up front. I think this year he's going to go balls to the wall and try to, prove that 2020 is not more or less a downward spiral. He's going to show that he's still at the top of his game. And I think Kyle Busch, I'm not going to say exactly what he's going to do, but I can see Kyle Busch. He's going to try to get back in the Final Four, at the very least, a top 5 points finish. So that's my first prediction.
I will react to that. Kyle Busch is not a guy to sleep on. I think I had him on my underrated list last week. Like, people just acting like this dude's washed. Dude won a championship just over a year or so ago. I mean, he was the 2019. Time stops at this point. He was the 2019 Cup Series champion. Me and Armani watched the most boring race in NASCAR history live and in person. He won the championship. And people just think he's washed and doesn't know how. I mean, they're ridiculous. So I'll take you for that. My prediction, I'm staying consistent with what I have stayed consistent with for the last year, and that is Matt DiBenedetto will still not score a Cup Series win. The other week I tweeted out Wood Brothers, but all the O's are spelled with zeros because that is how many wins they will have in 2021. I really like Matt DiBenedetto. Everybody, sometimes you have drivers that are trigger drivers. My favorite driver, Chase Sillett, he's a trigger warning driver. He actually wins, though. Matt DiBenedetto is one of those trigger warning drivers. I hope people I really like Matt DiBenedetto. In fact, he is probably the number 1 guy that I want to win in the Cup Series. Bubba Wallace is probably number 2. I like both of those guys. Matt DiBenedetto, though, to me, does not have what it takes, at least in the Wood Brothers equipment, to win a Cup race. I don't know if he's going to have it regardless. I mean, we saw him run Joe Gibbs Racing way back in the day when he was younger. We saw him run for Joe Gibbs a couple of years ago and choke away good finishes at road courses and could not win when he was in the best equipment in the garage. I like Matt. I really, really want to see Matt DiBenedetto win. I think you'd see the dude bawling his eyes out, crying from excitement, craziness. The fan base would love it. I would love it. I hope I eat those words. But my first prediction of the night is Matt DiBenedetto will go winless in 2021. He will not score his first Cup Series victory in the 2021 season. So, Armani, go off of it. Feel free to react to that or just go ahead and jump to your second prediction.
I don't know. Again, it's like that whole motivation thing. Where it's like, how motivated is he going to be knowing that he's out of the car next year? He's obviously got that year under his belt with Wood Brothers, so it can go either way. He's been in that position before. He's choked wins away, so at least if he's in that position again, you could probably assume that he's not going to make those same mistakes that he did before. So it's really going to be a matter of if the Benedetto was in those positions again, is he going to learn from the previous experiences? And if he does, he could win the Wood Brothers 100th race. I'm not going to say he's not going to win, but it can go 50-50 either way, in my opinion. My number two, again, I think that Chase Elliott will win at least 2 out of the 7 road course races. Chase Elliott, he swept the road course races in 2020, the Daytona road course and the Charlotte Roval. He has 5 road course wins in his career, including his first win at Watkins Glen. So we know he's the road course king in NASCAR. 4 road course wins in a row. I think Chase Elliott, he's not going to sweep the road course, especially because, you got tracks like Road America. You got tracks like, especially Circuit of the Americas. They're going to be complete wild cards. So who knows, how Chase Elliott's going to perform. And don't forget, Denny Hamlin nearly caught him at the Daytona road course. And Martin Truex Jr. is always behind Chase Elliott when it comes to these road courses. So it's not like Chase Elliott's just been, winning these road courses by 10 seconds like he's Lewis Hamilton out there. So I think he's going to win at least 2. And obviously, tracks to look at are like Watkins Glen and the Roval, 2 tracks where he's dominated at. That's if we go to Watkins Glen.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think everybody's kind of, they're handing him the championship for one, a point that you made weeks ago. There's only 1 road course in the entire playoffs. You just because you're good at road courses, 1 out of 10 races is not going to win you the championship unless at Phoenix. And guess what? You had to be good in more than 1 race to make it to Phoenix to be good in that 1 race. Everybody's thinking Chase is going to win 10 races. He's going to win 5 or 6 road courses. I think at tops he wins 2 road course races. We see these phases with guys in road courses. I mean, Jeff Gordon, for the last 8 years of his career, 9 years, he never won a road course race again. Tony Stewart, he won Sonoma. But between Sonoma and his other win, it had been years. We always see these little phases. Brad Keselowski had a little moment where he was finishing second every time, usually to Marcus Ambrose. Kyle Busch had this time where it seemed like he was winning and running up front, and then he kind of fizzled out of road courses. So you see these little waves, and maybe Chase is – maybe he breaks the mold. Maybe he is a Jeff Gordon or Tony Stewart where he's always near the front. We'll see, though. Denny Hamlin has been hot on his heels as of late. Truex has been very consistent. So I like the prediction. I would also agree with it. My next prediction is something a little bit off the wall, kind of out of nowhere, but I believe that Roush Fenway Racing cleans house after 2021. Roush Fenway is such a weird team. I remember when I first started watching NASCAR in the 2000s, I hated Roush Fenway with a passion. This is before they were even Roush Fenway. They were just Roush Racing. They had 5 cars. NASCAR said you could have 4, but Roush, he gets an exception for 5 cars because he had sponsorship already lined up. And then they had Kurt Busch, Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, Mark Martin, and you could keep on going with the list. And they were winning this and winning that. They won back-to-back championships with Matt Kenseth and Kurt Busch. And they were the big and bad organization of the early 2000s. And they have just sunken since then. It is really, I would say, ever since probably 2012, 13, around that area, they have just fallen off the map. They had moments with David Reagan. Ryan Newman had a moment or 2 with them, obviously, besides the huge moment last year in the Daytona 500. Not a good moment, but Roush Fenway, as JBK353 said on our chat, they used to be the powerhouse of the NASCAR Cup Series. It was them versus Hendrick, heads up. And they won more often than not, and they have just crumbled. Chris Buescher has not been anything like I thought he would be. I like Chris. I think Chris is a good driver. I think a lot of this is his equipment. But I thought Buescher was going to compete for a playoff. He never really got close last year. Ryan Newman, I have another prediction. It's not a prediction I'm going to give out tonight about what his future could hold, but I think there's a very good shot we see 2 completely different drivers come back to Roush Fenway next year. I would hope they don't close the doors or anything like that. I don't think they're in that dire of a need, but I think we see Roush Fenway make a lot of changes. There's a lot of young drivers that maybe they can snag a couple up. They're going to have to bring some over to the Ford camp. I just think Newman is been there he's kind of rode his course there. He had good moments, bad moments. And Chris Buescher, I think this year could be a make or break year. Is he continued to be worth the investment? But the one good thing Chris Buescher has is they did hold on to Ricky Stenhouse a little bit past when they probably should have. So Roush notoriously hangs on to guys a little long. So we'll see. But that's my second prediction is that Roush Fenway Racing completely cleans house after the 2021 season.
All right. I can see Newman going away. I don't see them getting rid of Buescher simply because they kind of kick Stenhouse to the curb. They used the fine print in a contract to get Buescher in. I don't see them getting rid of him after 2 years of, they pull. And I mean, he didn't have a bad year. He finished 21st in points, 8 top 10. So, I mean, Roush as a whole was kind of down. I don't think it was the drivers, though.
The other thing, which I agree, I think a lot of it with Chris is the car. We've seen Chris have really good runs and some stuff. But remember, man, you talked about how crazy silly season could be a couple weeks back. So you never know. If Chris can have a decent year, perhaps that opens up a bigger opportunity for him. You just never know. The relationship with Ford, Stuart Haas, you never know what could happen. So I don't know. I was looking at different teams and stuff, and Roush is going to have to do something if they ever want to get anything close to what they used to be. I don't think they ever make it back, but I mean, it's crazy to see what they've fallen. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think there's a high chance they hold on to Buescher, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say they clean house, and you're going to see some different faces there next year. So, prediction number 3 for you. What you got?
Prediction number 3. The Bristol Dirt Race will have a higher TV rating than the last 2 Bristol Spring races. This one's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, in 2020, the Bristol Spring Race had 2.93 million viewers compared to 2019, which had 2.81. So Bristol is, decent TV rating, decent crowd watching. Obviously, we know what's going on with dirt race, highly controversial, putting the dirt around the track. You've talked about it a million times. Everyone and their mothers talked about it a million times. What's it going to look like? People are saying that Kyle Larson's, he's just going to kick the field in the boot and he's just going to, lead every lap and, lap everybody. Obviously, we just got the news that heat races are going to be coming into this event. So, you got all these factors. This is probably one of, if not the most anticipated race of the season. And I think it's going to get a big TV rating. I believe it's on the main Fox network. I'm not kidding when I say this. If this race is successful enough, if they promote it properly, if this race is successful enough, this race can get 4 to 5 million viewers. And that's what I'm predicting. I think this race will be 4 to 5 million viewers if they promote it correctly. If they promote it correctly, it can get that big. So that's my third prediction.
I think there's a shot that you're underestimating how many views it can get. Now, the Daytona 500 is always the most anticipated, but right underneath it this year is that dirt race. The Daytona 500 usually gets anywhere from 9 to 11 million people that watch the race. If you promote it right, the dirt race could get 5 to 7 million probably. It's going to be disappointing if you don't get more than 4 or 5 million people. I mean, if you don't at least hit that benchmark, it's going to be a disappointing experiment. As much as I've bashed it a little bit and stuff, I'm still really excited for it. I still can't wait for it to get here. I mean, it is in March, I believe. I mean, it's next month. Right? Is it in March or is it in April?
I think it's in March.
I mean, it's literally it's next month. I mean, that's crazy to think about. It's next month. I'm excited. But I agree with you. I think this. Well, obviously you kind of throw a walk in the park here. If it doesn't beat the spring race, then you don't ever put the cars back on dirt again because this is what you got to beat, and this is the potential. Just land somewhere in here, and you're going to be fine. So I agree with you. I think it'll definitely have more ratings. I think everybody's intrigued. Hopefully, it's a good show and something that can happen every year, and not just. We all watched that first Eldora race saying, is this really going to work? Turns out it did. They did it for years. Now the trucks are going to go on to Knoxville and all that stuff. So we will see, but I like the prediction. My number 3 prediction for the night, this is one I feel sometimes you make these things and you're like, I don't know if I should have made that, but I wrote it down. I'm going with it. I normally do not go towards rookies like this, but either Chase Briscoe or Austin Cindric win a cup race in the 2021 season. And now I'm going off of this assuming that Austin Cindric – now, I think Briscoe's the more likely of the two, but I think this is based off Austin Cindric running plate races and road courses. Now, if you listen to Dave Moody today on Sirius XM, he actually made a point. They're probably going to actually try to put him at races that he's not used to because if you already know he's good on road courses, why are you going to waste his limited cup experience before he goes full-time in something he's already good at? Put him on intermediate tracks, put him on the short tracks, get him some legitimate reps before he goes full-time. But I think the road courses really make things intriguing. I mean, if they're going to put Austin Cindric on a road course or two. I mean, still at least going to put him in one, right? Like, just roll the dice, get his confidence up, make him feel like he can compete. And he's going to be a guy that can go out and be a threat, immediately be a threat, because he's that good on road courses. And Chase Briscoe, while I still don't necessarily look at Chase Briscoe as a road course ace, he is there every single time. Now, these cars, the packages are different, but guess what? At a road course, the package doesn't translate as much. If you can run a road course, if you put AJ Allmendinger in a competitive car for that Cup race, he's going to be up front. Doesn't matter that he's been running Xfinity. Doesn't matter that the package is different. Road course racing, road course racing. So I think that's what makes me feel more confident. I think it probably would be a road course race. Either the two do win, but that is my third prediction of the night, that either Chase Briscoe or Austin Cindric score their first Cup Series win in 2021. So, Armani, what say you if you're good adjusting your camera, or go on to that fourth prediction?
That's actually, I'll just give it out. I'm not going to mention both. I'm going to do that's actually one of my predictions also. Is that Chase Briscoe or Austin Cindric race in 2021? I don't know exactly which one's going to be, but I mean, we've only had 2 rookies win since 2009, and with all these road courses on the schedule, who knows? So, my number 4 prediction, if my audio isn't screwed up, is hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, so number 4, the playoffs will have another controversial champion. Ever since this playoff format begun, we've really only had 2 champions that you could consider deserving, and that was Martin Truex Jr. in 2017 and Kyle Busch in 2019. Every other year, 2014, they were like, oh, Jeff Gordon should have won it. 2015, 2016, Harvick should have won it.
2014, Kevin Harvick was the best racer.
Jeff Gordon had an average finish of like 10-something, had more top 10s, more top 5s.
Kevin Harvick won like 7 races that year. Like,
he won 5.
If Kevin Harvick didn't win that championship, there's a chance that Kevin Harvick never wins the championship.
No, Gordon would have won.
There's definitely been a lot of remember that Ryan Newman almost won it.
But 2016 also, Johnson won the 7. People said Harvick should have won it. 2018, with Logano, with the damn war. And even last year, Harvick had that fantastic season, and then Chase Elliott wins the championship because Harvick doesn't know how to turn Kyle Busch cleanly. So I think we're going to see it again this year. I don't know if we'll see it to the extent of like Johnson or Harvick or Logano, but I do think we're going to see another instance where the best driver all season doesn't win the championship.
Well, I think you can always make that argument because there's always usually at least 2 drivers that you could claim to be quote unquote deserving. This year it was Hamlin and Harvick. Neither one of them won it. But even if one of them would have won it, someone would have said, well, this guy was technically better, or this guy was this. So I see where you're going. More likely than not, that's how it works. Something about Kevin Harvick late in the season, it's like they just, since he won it, it's like they can't, there's like they're not meant to win a second one. But I see where you're going with it, and a very likely thing to happen. My 4th prediction of the night, these are really my bolder 2. I mean, I guess obviously Briscoe, Cindric and Briscoe is a pretty out there one. But my 4th prediction of the night, sorry, sending out a tweet, is that 2311 Racing, Motorsports, whatever that is, I think it's 2311 Racing, 23XI, 2311, whatever you want to call it, they will go to 2 cars in 2022. I had a little conspiracy that Hamlin would maybe leave Gibbs and go to his own car and essentially just give Gibbs another car. He signed a multi-year contract extension this year, which oddly enough, we will actually see FedEx. We will actually see Denny Hamlin run cars not sponsored by FedEx for the first time in 2022, but story for another day. Signed a multi-year extension. So right now, the overarching prediction is that 2311 will go to a second car in 2022. And this is assuming, and this is another prediction that I'm not making tonight, but I will release on Twitter probably this weekend. This is me and Armani kind of assuming they're running on a high budget. I mean, me and Armani had this discussion a couple weeks ago. If you're turning away sponsors, I would assume you have all the money and resources you would want. So I have to at this point, I have to assume that this is pretty much a 5th Gibbs car, because why wouldn't it be? They may have more of a budget than Gibbs does. So, when you're pushing away sponsorship, that is a huge sign of success, you would think. Kind of the underlying prediction in this, and this isn't technically one of my 10, but with them going to 2 cars, I have that either Matt DiBenedetto or Harrison Burton will join the team in 2022. Matt DiBenedetto, remember back in the Bristol race when DiBenedetto almost won, and then with Newman and all that stuff. Denny Hamlin has a ton of respect for Matt DiBenedetto. DiBenedetto has a relationship with Toyota. I think Denny really wants to see Matt get a shot and an opportunity. I think this would be the perfect chance for Denny to say, hey, come back home. Let's get you in the fold again. Let's put you in a competitive race car, and let's go do things. Then you look at the Harrison Burton side of things. Gibbs has talked about forever. They have to start opening new seats. They have so much talent over at Toyota. And I said at the beginning of last year, Harrison Burton's going to be special. People laughed at me. People thought that, oh, this was dumb, that, Harrison Burton, he didn't do anything in trucks. Goes out, wins 4 races as a rookie. As I told you, he was going to be special. They're going to have to put him in the Cup Series eventually. He's probably one of the favorites to win the championship this year, probably him and Austin Cindric. Look for Burton to win multiple races. The overarching, 23-11 goes to 2 cars. The underarching kind of part of it is either Matt DiBenedetto or Harrison Burton will be in that second car.
I could see it. I don't think it's going to be like Harrison Burton or rookie in the Xfinity Series, but I could see someone like a Matt DiBenedetto or, the team is still fairly young, so I think if they play their cards right, they want to bring, a little more experienced guy, just like, because they already got Bubba Wallace. He's pretty inexperienced. Someone like Matt DiBenedetto has a couple more years, of Cup experience under him would be beneficial to the team because I do think they will expand in the future.
Well,
Number 5. Yeah, go ahead.
You give it the justification for Harrison is now personally, I would probably pick Harrison over DiBenedetto because how many shots are you going to give Matt? Eventually, you have to ask yourself that. And I think obviously Denny and Michael Jordan are going to have a lot of say. So I don't think Joe Gibbs is necessarily the puppet master of this whole deal because they have so many sponsorships on their own. I think this is a little bit different than typical. But I do think that Joe is going to listen to Denny and Denny's going to listen to Joe. And I think Harrison Burton makes a lot of sense. I really was going to be convinced that Denny Hamlin would go join his own team. When he signed the multi-year extension, that changes everything. Denny plans on being at Joe Gibbs for at least another 2 to 3, maybe 4 years. We don't know how long the extension was, or at least I didn't read how long it was. So I think Harrison's the better choice. Really young talent, really good talent. Bring in some new blood for the brand new next-gen car. A guy that can learn that car. That is the Cup car that he has learned. He doesn't have any old habits to fall back on. This is what he drives. So I think Harrison Burton's going to be the best prospect they have. Sam Mayer is signed with Chevrolet. Sam Mayer is going to be a Chevrolet prospect, not Toyota. I think Sam Mayer is probably the best number 1 prospect moving forward. A guy like Noah Gragson, Chevrolet most likely would be where he goes. Austin Cindric, we know where he's going. Really look who else is in the Toyota camp. Chandler Smith hasn't got enough reps. I don't believe Brandon Jones is ever going to be a Cup talent. I think you got to go with Harrison Burton at that point. But to be fair, I like what you said. Go on. 5th and final prediction of the night.
I'm glad you mentioned 23-11. You want to talk about going crazy? Here we go. Here's the meat and potatoes of my prediction.
Here we go.
Number 5. I'm thinking Number 5. Trackhouse will make the playoffs and not 23-11 racing.
They're both so unique because me and you have talked about I expect 23-11 to be better than Trackhouse, but hell, they're rolling out 3 corporate 500. They're rolling out sponsors left and right. Whatever other NASCAR teams have not been doing in the last 5 years, call Justin Marks. I mean, apparently, obviously Pitbull helps, I'm sure, but Justin Marks has to be on the phone every single day, every minute. I mean, they're bringing in sponsor after sponsor. Might as well. Also, they're bringing out some of the hottest paint schemes of the entire season. But it's just me and you have talked about it. We don't know what to expect. Is Trackhouse operating on an RCR budget, a better than RCR budget? We've talked about 23-11. Are they operating on a Gibbs budget, less, more? We don't know. And that's so when I first heard Trackhouse, I was like, oh, they're just going to be kind of like Germain Racing. I'm fairly certain they have to, at this point, have a bigger budget than Germain Racing. They may be a legit RCR car, if not better. So I'm interested in your justification for why you were making this prediction.
I'm going to be honest. Well, I got really one legit prediction, and that's just because the team has had a lot more time to prepare than 2311 Racing, just because they were announced way before, months in advance. Suarez is obviously a more experienced driver. He's had his shots. He's shown flashes, and I think, we're finally going to see. It's got to come to the point where it's like, okay, this is really Suarez's third shot to really just make. He didn't do nothing at Gibbs. He didn't do nothing at Short.
By the way, I'm glad you mentioned that. Little small rant inside. Daniel Suarez had the audacity to tell media this week he thinks this is his best opportunity at Cup. Does he not remember where he's raced at? He's raced at Joe Gibbs Racing, who won a championship within the time that he was driving there, within a year or two of him driving there. He ran at Stewart-Haas, who at the same time had Kevin Harvick and Clint Bowyer make the playoffs pretty much every single season, and Eric Almirola. He was the only driver to not make the playoffs. But this is the best opportunity he's ever had. A brand new team who was unproven under RCR's campus. This is magically the best opportunity he has ever had in Cup Series. I
think what he means by that is kind of like how, to go off a football reference, how Jared Goff probably, was more happy about going to the Lions than he is with the Rams, because he feels like they believe in him.
It's a personal thing. He thinks that the ownership group is behind him. He's finally going to get a team that, remember, crew chiefs did change with him every single year. I think he was a plug and play at Gibbs. They didn't expect him to go to Cup that quickly because Edwards bounced. He ran out on the road. He only signed with Stewart-Haas because sponsors were cool with him, and that was really where he kind of got stuck. This is, we want you. We picked you as our driver, not your sponsors picked us.
So that's one thing I think they had a lot more time prepared, so I think they have that over 2311. Like you mentioned, the budget that they have. I mean, you're rolling out K1 Speed, iFly, that third other one, Comsco. So you got to have a pretty decent budget, When RCR, has to have Chevrolet accessories, on their cars, and I don't think we're going to see that at all with that Trackhouse team. I've been hinting at it. I think Trackhouse is going to be a dark horse playoff team, and I do think they're going to make the playoffs. One thing I just think over 2311 is just they had that more time to prepare, and I think Justin Marks, he's a little bit more, he's a little bit more into, the racing business side. He sees more of a racing businessman. Don't get me wrong, Denny Hamlin, obviously, 40-plus wins, 3-time Daytona 500 champion. But we're really going to see, does he really have that business mindset of a team owner? I see that more in Justin Marks than I do in Denny Hamlin.
I will say this to negate you before I give my final prediction. Both of these teams are quote-unquote alliance teams in a sense. I would much rather be aligned with Joe Gibbs Racing than Richard Childress Racing. But something people have to remember and watch out for. Chevrolet is different than Chevrolet has ever been this year. They are all working together just like Toyota does. Just like Ford does. So there's a shot, and it's like the last 5 years we all are like, what is Chevy going to do? We'll find out in the first month of the season. What is Chevy going to do? Once again, here we are. Chevrolet turned it on last year. Chase Elliott obviously won the championship in a Chevrolet. Is this finally their signal? If Chevrolet hits on something that gives a team like Trackhouse an opportunity to get it while it's hot, and perhaps Chevrolet hits on something, ECR, Hendrick, all them, they've been working together. So you could have a little bit of something going on there. So I see
it's just a gut feeling. I've just been having this gut feeling for the longest time.
So,
I'm surprised you didn't have a worse reaction. I thought you were gonna have just as bad a reaction as I did when I said Newman will go to the 48.
Well, go ahead and give me a drum roll. My fifth prediction of the night and for 2021. Kyle Larson does not win a race in 2021. Here's what I'm saying, and this is one that I could definitely see being wrong, but this is why it's bold. This is of my 10 predictions. This is 100% my boldest prediction. And I've always defined bold predictions.
You got some explaining to do.
Listen, I will. I always define bold predictions as something that, in theory, they're supposed to be wrong. You're going out on a limb here. It's not Bristol dirt race is going to get better ratings than a non-Bristol dirt race. I'm going to go with something that could very easily not happen, and I'm going to sit there and say it. All right? Here's my justification. Kyle Larson has been out of the car for 10 months. This package has never benefited him. I don't believe he won a race in 2019. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He did. Dover.
He won.
Dover
Okay, he won one race in this package. Now, he also struggled, though. Now, also, he did start out last year consistent. But, again, he's been out of the car. Kyle Larson's driving style does not fit the package of this race car. And also, just like you said, with a gut thing, part of why I don't think Larson wins the race this year is this has Casey Kane written all over it. Now, he is much better than Casey Kane. There's no doubting about that. He's better on dirt. My opinion, he's better on asphalt, even though Casey Kane has triple the amount of Cup wins of Kyle Larson at this point. But that's a stat that nobody wants to hear about. So, Casey Kane jumped in that 5 car. And now, I will say this. Larson's car will be built with like the Elliott garage. I'm fairly certain it's the 9 and the 5. Casey Kane was always in that kind of 4th wheelhouse on the other side of the garage. Even though they claim to not have that anymore, we all still know they pretty much do. Casey Kane jumped in that 5 car, and I remember thinking, man, Casey Kane is about to set the world on fire. And at moments, it looked like he did. I think his first year there, he won a handful of races. But Casey never became a championship contender. He struggled immensely at Hendrick during his time there. So I'm going out on a limb, and Kyle Larson does not win a race. I think everybody is handing him the dirt track race. Or the dirt race. I don't know why I made it sound so weird, but the dirt race. Remember, he only won one time at Eldora. He raced at Eldora multiple times in the truck series. I think in his first 1 or 2, he crashed out. He was too aggressive. He thought he sort of had it too much in the bag. He drove too hard. And we could still see the same thing happen because he think, you never know, this could be one of his few opportunities where he can go out and win. These things are hard to win in a package that doesn't really suit him. At a dirt track, the package doesn't matter. And there's more than one dirt guy that's going to be running. Now, Larson is the best. He's the best dirt guy in the Cup Series. But a lot of other guys, Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Newman, a lot of these guys came from dirt. Just remember that. But I just don't think the package fits him 100%. Everybody's assuming Larson's going to go out and win 3-4 races. Yes, this is his best equipment he's had. This is his best opportunity. But he's been out of the car for 10 months. Almost a year he's been out of this race car. And it's just my gut. It cannot forget Casey Kane and how everybody, including myself, bit on Casey Kane back in the day when he jumped in the 5 car. We all thought it was going to be a switch. Casey Kane's about to be a perennial title contender, and he was a polar opposite. Never got close. Had moments at intermediate tracks where he looked very, very strong. Had a race or 2 where he dominated, but he could never put the whole picture together. And that's just how I feel with Larson. So you as a Larson fan, I'll let you react.
I can't wait for him to win like 6 races this year and just completely just like shove it in your face.
I think it'll be worse for me if the Benedetto wins because I've talked so much. I hate to say, I don't want to call it trash because I like that.
No, Larson, Bowman.
Like I like, and the thing is, I don't hate. First of all, I don't hate any drivers. When you get older, like when you're a kid, you say you hate these guys, but when you get older, you don't. Hell, I'm cheering for Tom Brady to win the Super Bowl. I would have never said that 7-8 years ago. You know what I mean? Like I would have never. But when you get older, you start respecting people in sports. And even though I don't necessarily think you're going to do this or do that, I still respect you. I want Matt DiBenedetto to win more than anybody else in the Cup Series. I just do not see it happening. There are so many competitive cars. I mean, I think I wrote down one week. There's like 24 or 25 cars that I think could make the playoffs. At that point, Trackhouse wasn't even involved. But you sort of have me. I don't think Trackhouse makes it, but I can see where you're going when you have an argument for I think they could compete for the playoffs. So make that 25 cars that could compete for 16 spots in the playoffs. I mean, 20 if 25 cars make the playoffs, that means there's 25 cars that could at some point win a race. And just remember that. And there's certain guys I just don't know. Matt DiBenedetto, I think it comes from more of a talent thing. For Larson, it just so much reminds me of Casey Kane, and I get it. He's not Casey Kane. He has less wins than Casey Kane, but without joking, he's a better driver than Casey Kane is. But he has struggled to win in the past. He has struggled to close the deal, and everybody is just handing him wins. Here it is. There's your win, Kyle. I'm going to go ahead and hand it to you right here live on YouTube. There's your win. He's always struggled to win in Cup. He has done it forever. And so we will have to see. He's overdriven the car many, many times. We all remember races where he just gave away races. He doesn't catch flack for it. Chase Elliott does, even though Elliott's now a champion. But remember, he's the choke artist. So that's how we are. So read your 5 off real quick to recap. I'll read mine, and then we'll get out of here.
All right. So I'm not going to really put them in order. Kyle Busch will have a bounce-back year. Chase Elliott will win at least 2 road course races. Bristol Dirt will have a higher TV rating than the last 2 spring races. The playoffs will have another controversial champion, and Trackhouse will make the playoffs over 2311 Racing.
Awesome. In mine, where Matt DiBenedetto goes winless in 2021, Roush Fenway Racing cleans house after 2021. Either Chase Briscoe or Austin Cindric win a race during the 2021 season, most likely going to be a road course. Fourth one was 2311 expands to 2-car team in 2022. And kind of a double prediction there. I think it's either going to be Harrison Burton or Matt DiBenedetto that would join that organization. And my 5th prediction of the night is Kyle Larson goes winless in 2021. That's it. I got to go bold. Every year I have a couple of bold ones. I have a couple other bold ones that I'll release eventually on Twitter. I'm sure Armani will release his at some point. But we're going to roll out of here. Cannot wait. When the next time we talk to you guys, which will right now, the plan is to have a show next Thursday. I have kind of a concept in mind that I haven't mentioned to Armani yet. Well, we've discussed it in the past, but it's been a few weeks, and I think this is the perfect time to kind of experiment with it. Me and him will discuss that. We'll make an official announcement if me and him can agree on what we want to do here. But we plan on talking to y'all next Thursday while the duels are on. But remember, next time we talk to you, we will have seen cars on track, the Clash, the Bud Shootout, and Daytona 500 qualifying. We will know who is on the pole for the Daytona 500 the next time that we talk to you. So, yeah, probably will be. If conspiracy is true, it would either be Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace,
Chase Elliott.
I said Chase Elliott, but really it would be Bubba Wallace. If the conspiracy is true, it's got to be Bubba Wallace, right? Because you want anything that gets the headlines ringing, and there would be nothing more to ring the headlines than Bubba Wallace winning the pole for a team owned by Michael Jordan in the Daytona 500. So appreciate everybody listening. Armani, anything you want to announce before we get out of here?
Larson's going to dominate, and I just want him to dominate just so that this kid can say, my prediction was wrong.
Well, we'll see you next week. Like I said, we'll have something fun for next week. Appreciate everybody listening. We want to hear your predictions, so make sure you tweet at us, comment, do whatever you want to do, share this video, and appreciate you joining us for the ride. See you next time.